قدلوتال ميل al presidential press conference sergi del along del urior o del gobsing ila otro ilbuil del alagra 2024 ma ngwabe kal tol doru la era bodom ho la e bodon tira pastor ipi Williams resel hope tamoni church bol baskida mu eder el altutar o era bodol mul mertel press conference sergi de la bungela presidenta
malungil tutaw president ma vice president ma local ministers, ma chiefs, ma directors, tigal adra press langat yang adra news. Awira pa ko lulu en swakal mo ayuya tarama kasi mamlulu Yang ara Psalm 34, sil 1 al mura 3. Mula si obeng kasi laklung yole la Dios. Akmob looy loldang srarubak. Ndiakbok magim loldang seringi. Akmo oldang seringi ilgil ay gil blarul. Trigger rogul awarma, polseb illo rengs, evolungila rengrir. Mobangger lo mer raklangar babra Dios, evobabak loldangs rangklel. Adamel Dios el ngarayang aba lola barogul klisi rayang aba ma utama. Kawerubaka amran ngarbab, emran sisi, etngakla. Emeang leger rogul ngaringi rayang at mga utama akloklim maring at mga kloklim eral tuta gyam kodong rang klem emreng asulem rab esel sils elgam los emlolgi ser elgam rogu yagik ngar yang al selel al sils agi mreng asulem legi mermara ulo bangalel al mamra oktober rubak maging song semreng asulem leger rogu ilgam narmul magem lenglungu am Al-Girel ablur belau, ma president regel gukne omrolel moto regel ablur belau. Igamil sabak keringi regel bek lulurior. Al-Ngiam birul, al-Girel adar belau, makamal adar belau. Mel al-tuta gidi meriang asule, memal botrega klitial, el-press conference, al-Ngiam mamang last el-press conference ngirel al-Oktober. Ruba gyal ngitra ongotigay gergau, mabud, maigel ngiya, amos bek klawad Mbol sirar bek adal mom bengi egel lurior el president Tamrul el giramar adar belau agatul tria rogul minister seringi mitria rogul ngatian mrut aurior egel bek luriol bolur el sils bomo vantrir e momutika gertir mo sabak gertir magi mereng asule mo sitiar press conference lo kar olel mabla ngalel ngaklang agimel Jesus amen.
Sulang Pastor Williams Hope Tamani Church di sogal mutal tal emral di momrang asulala agal bekal adara agil asyam akla lidel for the last 4 years el tira me obanged ngara press conference egid omral wasagad blo kot egid emrang asulala rubak yusra rogul klangal tangat merabel was musulang anglungu egid omral wasa ulang kadangal tangat tablo kidelo Dios el belo magamral musulang artial teal egida derigal mutial teal derigal mosus raibdul maraklay ma rubugul belau bilung me biraklay mar masil belau President Paules marugul senators Speaker Anastasio marugul delegates Governor Paloy marugul governors Speaker Talay marugul speakers, electors, di mal tugobet sel susirgid, amor arbek la adar belau, se mal sogal mulgonia angarang ayang al mor hotcharigi, tegul mal sogal mulgonia tugar hotcharigi, sergi morura utemela la when I was in the second gangan, en mal mleklo tu trela angel untera hatobela dase aling hotcharigi, ya boundary giren mom lekra hotcharigi, mang giren mom dase abluad aklo. We should be inclusive and remember everyone. Mga dirigal mal mga sulit trigal ngalgadal mliyo krablu lath al sils blol tunin and moregal press conference. Mang gwadi sesel update adi sokal moshera of course betoka ayam betoka intermediate press conference ma ngaran di tiasel wal official al Wednesday di bod update rose Mlaritial judicial conference, it's ongoing at Ablur Belau. Kadamal Merenga Sulela Chief Justice Niraigalau, Material Uk Palau Judicial Council عملوا decide راسي أبلا مو والhost venue تيجي الconference تيام صار تقول environmental laws كذا مديا سابلور بلا كذا leader when it comes to environment ما أقمدوا justice Carbolito راسوس يعني they're looking forward to going to visit أيقال sites كذا كذا I think they have a special visit المرة 70 islands مرويد المو that nature preserve and something that we need to be proud of and share لو مجلا Pacific لين كده مدينا سألوه كلا كلار جد أجيرة المسبق أقرني أجيرة المليسي إرني اللي تيا أجيرة المال ملوس بيرني تيا لا مخلوق المرة الميم كنا نسولين من هو استدريق الملوس إلا نقول لوتينت كافرنور أقوام الدريق الملدين كده الويجل لو بنقول ما قدم لا هذا دو هي ملوس إلا نقول تتريق أوك other national guard سيسل كده من ماليس state partnership لو بنترير متملين evaluate تيجي programs تيرا مسئل أدرغانية سيوري several that they mentioned I wanna say أوك مهل بريدة تورا أبوليس cooperation مع أوك law enforcement training they're hoping to do that next month I think they're working out the MOU to see what say نراجل سين مرون ولا سين مرون of course again we're a sovereign country so they're still working that out and they temo assist ادريغ المال spend that time لونجلا نيمو talking about disaster preparedness اللي كده عملنا سي ترى دو اساس اللي بوني disaster اقوم بس national guards تي توب help را تورا emergency من تملار تيال team تخلول team there was about 6 of them and they've been working with Wayman and مقلا يلتول كده انيمو تدريغ ال ولو اي سرقيد رو سي there سيل تيمر تيرا hazmat angartian sel hazmat whether angaria and I didn't know this there was one time angaria white substance el tilur below this is angara among the send ma comment help get analysis because you know they're checking us at anthrax or whatever that's sel hazmat timra guam argotia mura scientist maral partner national guard and they're there to help us if there's a threats or something that we don't know so it's good to know that's part of the partnership and continuing to grow how can they continue to help us adrigal el tian nombre del week no sé del signer el MOU lo bangela TEPCO will be TEPCO el Tokyo Electric and Power Company say for the next 2 years will provide us with power distribution engineer المون مسير كده really a master planning ara tel tora dengi if anything هذا شباب لاسه قدر عملوا تجيب المريء درا ويل سيل ديزاير كده سواء بتقول renewables دي we know لاسه هذا برا بليليو انغاريا كوريان solar البارك تاخدو سبيري انغاريا UAE solar انغاريا الشباب not connected to the grid إذا برتيلوك بابل دا بقدم لا تو بتقول different solar system causing a destabilization so one of the things that I say, first, we need to do a master planning, and what their goal is, and put the right systems in place and help. That's the first step, and then help the plan goal by 2032. Let's be 100% renewable. But to get there, this is what you need to do, and really creating a roadmap. Minister, of course, this next month, Maurice el COP 29, se morirá Baku, Azerbaijan. Tiasel, of course, Tiasel close COP el morirá every year. Last year, mora Dubai, alang mora Baku. Se look, Basel initiative, Basel new collective quantified goal on climate finance. Tiamrania, Gadim Sada Tora climate. مغرضهم make sure although that's elmo implement the total program and from cloud to telegirela adaptation and mitigation دريغ ما cloud to tell كده عم سا abulur belar elang for the next 2 years amura January amo ngel ambassador sid amo chairman arsel daseng AOSIS agel Association of Small Island States among namo cloud roller belal ensure the initiatives regal small island states get into full implementation le gida champion cellular so ase ndigal girel tial kleal dalang 1.5 degrees sel wan lenga sa kleal lenga 1.5 degrees centigrade Celsius se blugulo ase el al time sel based sel global stock take igadam dengala se gidare langa dimral bedula 3 which is way above. So gira del muto milisi al programa and continue to push the world to make the right choices. Gidam dengel wase atara hablado sadri igal bebira press conferences sell 20 million. El gara blue ram rigel el merbelao melga seorgid ra really economic resilience up to Amrigela Osperi Loisen. Of course, we can use it. Al Giral Sel Tora pension, which got already got them la plan Al Giral. Ambassador Amrigela Mlegonora to Tase President Bomodaya say it's in process. It's a matter of weeks in Mose the clear sell grant. Mose Tiagalwa, Igara Gofang, different grant. Dingaria paper all Giramat Mok, the sell ball ready again. Other Selegon got the Mrusel. Grant process. So that was good news. I just got that text this morning. Mose Aktriga Kurt Campbell, Maulam Neswal to share information of again both Clavadara and Mudrase. It's in the other and the real obesity, it's ongoing. But
20 million and more pension.
Yes. Ngaria the Lulgara before said the press release, yeah. They want to reassure us it's more than a press release. There's a process they're going through, and it's going to get here. So, by the book to Yegi, the Togara and Artian, and Chuagal Hotel Mo, recognize it, Amran Labes, first of all, we recognize a media. So, Sulang are other Tiabelao, Island Times, TMC, Pala Wave. Direct mal Vice President, Minister Education, Minister of State, Minister of Finance, Minister Agriculture, Fisheries and Environment, Minister IMPII, Directors Shera Madraisa MHHS, Director Augusta MHRCTD, Director Elway, MOF. Of course, a chief of staff. Herman Sulang, Pastor EP Williams. So, with that, Baiko Pastriateala, that's all my do. Finance? Finance, you want to go first? Or
Sure.
Maybe, okay, I'll go finance first.
All right. First, I'd like to explain an issue that's come up that we are trying to address so that we can continue to assist people with their power bills. And that's what's being called the DER, or the distributed energy cost for your power bills. As you know, the government has been subsidizing 10 cents up for the fuel charge for your energy bills. Because of the change in regulations, we are modifying the charge for your energy to include solar energy. We do have the Ngatpang solar farm. We generate energy out of that displaces how much fossil fuels that we use in generating power. The two together result in this DER, distributed energy cost to the PPUC. And in the law, the 10 cents goes against what's called the automatic fuel price adjustment, or what they refer to as AFPAC. And because of that, we need to change the language in the appropriation to reference the DER. And once we do that, then we should be able to continue to provide the subsidy to all residential users. So it's quite an easy fix. It's a challenge that we're experiencing, as the President said, as we work towards the transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energy and energy efficiency. These sorts of adjustments will need to be made through the process. It's a bit technical, so we need experts like TEPCO's engineer that will be assisting the Republic with the energy transition process. That we will uncover more of these sorts of adjustments that need to be made. Some regulatory, like the DER, which went through the APA process, and then some that are required through legislation. And of course, we look for the easiest way to make the change to accommodate what we're trying to do, which is, in the end, helping people with the volatility of energy prices, because fuel prices go up and down. Fuel is also our largest import, and because it's so volatile, it affects our economy. So we do want to stabilize the impact of fuel imports to our country, and that will be done through renewable energy installation into our country. This is something that the world is doing. A lot more larger countries are experiencing the same challenges, so it's not anything new, but it's something that is more difficult for small islands like Palau to address, because we don't always have the experts or the money or the equipment, the technical know-how to make the same adjustments. So I wanted to share that with you, because I think that's something that we've been addressing through PIWA, Palau Energy and Water office that's under the ministry. I think you may have seen the 3-hour-long Senate hearing that my director attended. And it may confuse people on what was being discussed, but essentially what I've just described regarding the distributed energy charge is what they were discussing. So it's an easy fix, and I think Congress is already looking at that adjustment to the law, to the budget law, to allow for that 10-cent subsidy to be given to all residential households. And I hope it'll be done before the election. I think it's important that this process happens quickly, because it shouldn't be a political issue. It's just a technical issue. There's another issue I would like to bring up, because it's become
Sure.
very...
I'll quite briefly translate. Oh, Abu.
So until that's fixed, and there's a subsidy total.
Yes, we will not be able to apply the subsidy that we have budgeted for the distributed energy charge for the solar energy part of the cost subsidy. And that's our major challenge.
Kalau doa di mom kata clear, ngaramo, sel mom serah bil ergi dengan ni sel, ayat wal tabloid charges, ngani sel wal energy, ngani sel wal fuel, wajah. Sikit el fuel bleda ka geisang ni nos persel tola se afpak, afpak bleda calculating se kadama, lalu malbui ramla memang menetelara la lul dos peri lom gard. إما أتبدأ أماونتري إلا قدم لا يمول لا ديغديل ديسير أمغرد دينجي إنديري قل سولار ملا قدو سيل بلا لا PUC سيل أول تيرا سيل بسيل regulation التير سيل ده سن DER distributed energy rate لو ده غير تبلون أرى لا سولار أرى لا أديزير المطمع يمرو بكلر البوي لكده واد calculator سيل amount ترى سيل واد إلي تيرو مرة سيجد الدنجي ملا قدمو charge other bases سيجد ال cost per kilowatt because ملامو بس regulation يجد المور تاوترينا November 1st سيل بدل تاوترينا November 1st تتيال budget بلا باسينيرا October 1st أم صادر أفباق يدي غادي يقرأ السيل مامو problem را او Ministry of Finance سلودو del gire el mo subsidize ra 10 cents amo de galsi del subsidize tial lerer tial ngara la o se afpak e de galda se diar mal simple other olvira di pasra la lo se diar a 10 cents en to the sel subsidy mo aquí mal de hope lo se el silsing October dori almeria de la sesión Senate el pasri mal di maxineri mal di mirtir mal di one minimum wage mal di mil
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And if I can switch over to a more serious issue. Earlier this week, we were made aware of a tax filing for a large Palau taxpayer, a taxpayer who is registered under the new PGST regime. And it wasn't a PGST filing, but it was a filing for fiscal year 2023 that was shared openly on the forum. This is very concerning for the tax office. We need to operate with a high level of trust. We believe that this document was released from the tax office. Indications are, based on the document that was shown, that this should have originated from the tax office. If you've seen this document, it has markings on it, and it also crosses out some information. In particular, the one that makes me suspect this is from the tax office is because it crosses out one of the tax officials who was processing that form. And I don't think anybody outside of the tax office would have taken the time, made the effort to hide a fellow employee's name if it wasn't that employee themselves. So we have opened up an investigation. Director Ikeda has previously issued memos to all staff expressing the seriousness of and importance of privacy of information and confidentiality for the tax office, to our taxpayers, as well as to those international companies that we are trying to attract to do business here. If they cannot trust our tax office, that should be enough for them not to come to Palau. So it's really important that we really emphasize the importance of confidentiality and privacy of information that our taxpayers entrust to us. So we have told the staff that this has happened, and we are opening up an investigation. I do also plan to have the special prosecutor come into the office and look at this. This is how serious we take this a breach of information. We do not know if it was actually a staff of the Bureau. We do have some very capable and trustworthy staff, but just to make sure, without a doubt, that this didn't originate from the tax office, we are taking drastic steps. We regret that the taxpayer may have been affected by this breach, and we have put out a public statement from the tax office regarding this. I think it went to the forum. And we will continue to make effort to protect this taxpayer and other taxpayers' information. You might want to take notes before I ask you to translate.
Let him translate.
Okay. Go ahead and translate that, and then I'll move to the next topic.
Malungil total President Marbekla de malungil total media waisea ko dirigal lo hospital tel mertiang dirigal mo iso segel do minister lo aseng dilu bol to dia algal toy en goto klol wal dadung goto klol el sacra o tutela la tax el girir adlo barang argi de marura abre galek ta tax galek ta private information so dia galek to kam la azubo indig da mang wagel dilo a minister kam la umur investigate e plan lo sisbra durst paril dire gal investigate or dire gal so del malmol transparent el investigation wagel dire gal mo aisel wasay ato koram la umul review ya tarabla da koram mo gatak ma blaktak la wasay sel ngara lil circulator ngi dia gal sel lil file ring taxpayer segidawan ang erol toya bebira nganya information ngar say la mongodo ral sel lil circulator ngi malu bang informational baby information ngar sel lil circulator ngi dia gal wagel ngara record ay say bang malmal investigation na wal blagel do minister do meserngi klol te alam la adibla gal top dra taxpayer tilo dra adro laba information internally ngal chela either ngal chela tax or ngal chela bebiro office ngania lo laba information ma egida so that mo malmal lo mga dadu ora taxpayer dini gal assurtir تيا أسواد المغتقلية واسي وسنجد الجيل تيا privacy mar information di tabasul mora rogul taxpayer mangidil taxpayer algigrei maglo a right tringia adiosisu lo asingide del masabakl el protect the information al submit el maratax so del shurara del confident el remulang el haratax aktiran ngartiang al sebagal longer question.
Thank you, Director. If I can also address the issue that I believe was trying to be portrayed with this release of tax information. It seems very clear that there is, for some reason, a strange understanding of people that large businesses are paying less tax. This particular filing was a reconciliation of tax installments paid for business profit tax. When under the business profit tax law, businesses pay 2% of their gross revenues in anticipation of the tax at the end of the year. And that's what this form did, was reconcile what has been paid versus what the actual profit the business owed taxes on. And it's very obvious in the markings on this document. They highlighted gross revenue multiplied by 4%. And I can only understand that by saying that this is what they should be paying in gross receipts tax. So gross receipt tax for PGST taxpayers is not paid as GRT. It's paid as import tax and what used to be GRT, or what now under the new tax reform is called PGST. So you cannot compare business profit tax to PGST. And that seems to be what whoever shared this information and made those markings was trying to allude to, which is incorrect. Another point that I see is that they highlighted actual taxes paid, and that's true. Businesses have different cost structures. So a lawyer who has very little input cost will be having a higher percentage of profit than a grocery store, which has very low margins because it imports a lot of food and has to do a lot of storage costs like refrigeration, has to have a big store that they have to pay lease rents and other expenses on, has a lot of staff, so their margins are lower. So that is something that, as a policy, the Republic is trying to recognize, to help every business pay what money, taxes on what they earn, not on what they bring in, the gross revenue. And then if the other item that's highlighted on this form very prominently is the amount of refunds that are due to the taxpayer. So as I said, throughout the year, businesses don't know what they're going to make by the end of the year, so they pay installments. And that's established by law. That installment, the 2%, is an estimate of what we thought people would be paying based on gross revenue. We need to look at that and adjust it based on the actual information we are getting from our taxpayers. But if they are paying 2% and at the end of the year they have paid more than what they're supposed to pay, what the profit they made times 12% is, then we have to give them a refund. So it's not that businesses are getting a refund, it's not that they're paying less. This is the system that we are advocating for tax reform to help the country collect all the taxes that it's due, as well as to promote the larger economy and better businesses. So this is, an unfortunate result of what was released. It seems clear as what they're trying to say, which is very incorrect and misinforming. I also want to highlight in the Island Times, it was repeated here, and I'm really hoping that the media understands how the tax system is supposed to work and not put out this misinformation to the public. You should be helping people understand what the tax law says and how it works, so that people understand misinformation when they see it. And I think that will also discourage this type of behavior where, private information is shared from a government source to the public and creates the wrong picture for the people that the government is not to be trusted and the government is doing something that is not right for the people. This tax reform, as the president has shown in several of the town hall meetings and the graphs that he has shown, is really helping Palauan people specifically. And any effort to show otherwise is really misleading the people from the truth. So I would hope the media would make extra effort to help educate the public and discourage misinformation and breach of privacy for the tax office or any other government office. So I see Elway is taking notes. Let me have him
Let me
translate
just
that.
make something very clear. I think the misinformation is this. It says under PGST, businesses are paying less. What was shown on Facebook was the filing for business profits tax. I'm saying it in English show because Caleb talked English. So, train of thought. So, let's go back. The article says, under the PGST system. Under the PGST system, there's two taxes. There's PGST and business profits tax. There's two taxes, both paid by businesses. PGST replaced GRT. That's the first thing that we need to understand. Second, BPT is a new tax. Two separate things. What the article failed to mention, and what was scratched on the paper failed to mention, is how much PGST Sudan and Sons paid. That's the false information, which is way more than GRT. In fact, it's more than double what GRT is. So the point is, if you're going to print information, it should be accurate, instead of trying to put out misinformation, false information, just because it's political. And I'm disappointed in Island Times because, remember, there was an article that was, not an article, an paid advertisement that purported the same information that in the end said it came from the Ramasao campaign. This was discussed. Leilani's not here, but newspapers should be factual and based on fact, not on, so, Chula. Elway, ilang alam mo liyo de. English so share.
So lang mo blal akmal yo da blal do president ma minister wasing sil mlim daswal merura tax reform miltira GRT lo ba PGST GRT ma import tax and then osisebe business profits tax al tax ra income ra shobay actually cultural mo taklis el southern minister gire la refund di bol blanc tax lo wasay refund lo la adra file a business profits tax amrangia gadolu taw dir dim la revenue government de tamle overpay dim la previous record der gidel wasay untela profit rath magdam le estimate ra or transitional rate el wasay katingwa 2% ra cost revenue ra harangi maselbol katengedel almlongo first business profits tax return ra beklad magdam la mom denge profit tira 2023 mali 2023 mang ko ngilu segi del liability ngi charge ra gel blel haral ng sa mong deposit ng prepayment leng ako to ra administrative ra side ra taxing di mo dakkel mo 1 year el bol malmoklo en mangong blolo to harar quarterly or file in a year and then get a return a difference and the moving forward the dolomon business profits tax I have ng information illegal tax liability ra previous year adi mo yudel mora next year to pay wal quarter sel tax arangale tax liability matsumatamle in la palhara 1,000 dalal total PPT ya following year each quarter tara 250 lingku matcher segidin magdo moral wase lol mol meng moral mo gikreisel difference ang moral mo klo information do bang may estimation ra gida mo medo mang feature katingil ra kal toru ngi mang awan ndim la ka to information do lab le system ra gida before adim la kal require madim la do lab information on edel estimate the profits ongeru nga dire kal masadra so misra agisal recover ilor moklo ikaw moral wase shoba im dire kal moral mo o back on their feet settle make a profit and then ang moral mo refund so I think message say was saying business profits tax first year it's not a good place to judge the business profits tax so seguida so kal tuloy
About
And I think some maybe some more confused rather sell basis or second spera 2% gross revenue estimating. But this is not a gross revenue tax. This is a business profit tax. And tax ramoge. Sell PGST is really a revenue tax. Based on sales. A revenue of sales. So that's why PGST replaces GRT. Misal di mo sodra BPT mobile lol da karingin waseng GRT ay tablo ka karusel to. Uleng kudol spera 2% estimate. It's because it's an estimate and call tal dolari. Mo na mo tekatam lani kad mo dori. Titia first time so we had to have a basis. So anyway.
Mr. President, I think it's important for the media to help explain how this works because it affects people when they're paying their taxes that they're unclear as how exactly this is supposed to work. So I'm very happy to offer Elway Services to sit with you and his staff to explain through some examples how this works, and hopefully the media can share this with the public and especially the people who are trying to pay their taxes. And BPT is an important tax because if you incorrectly file for your taxes, you can get penalized heavily. So you want to be accurate in your filing, and I'm hoping the media could help us with that message.
Can we ask questions?
Yadang. Maligire.
Kami sulang na clarification ertal PPT ma PGST sa President mentioned ang two different ka tokoy hindi ka nga eungela imol bill.
Why is it?
Say di mga eungela imol PGST del 11 sel dirun listing misinformation sel ko graph Island Times na nga ko graph ultra PGST ma PPT PPT like 6%. And those are figures from the Ministry of Finance, right? Is the misinformation because the PGST, still 37%, taxes paid by consumers, but they're also paid by businesses, 2%. Is that accurate? Or?
So let me be clear because I was the one talking about it. So the sell misinformation awat yagid. Your amount they dispute the amount. Total tax collect. But remember, who pays PGST? Ultimately, the business pays it. Who pays GRT? The business pays it. These are both consumer taxes that have always been there. What's never happened is businesses never paid a profits tax. So, Seldo say, what are the total taxes businesses pay? It's PGST plus BBT. Before it was import tax plus GRT. I say, those are the two taxes that you need to compare because one replaces the other. Sell misinformation aloba sell mlar sell. Businesses are paying less, which is not a true statement. And media continues to perpetuate that, and perpetuate the idea that consumers never paid before. Consumers have always paid, because at the end of the day, even the business profit tax comes from the consumer. I mean, if you think about it. So it's the way you collect it. So that Island Times continues to print comes from political propaganda. I say it's and not accurate. Let's get the correct facts.
Yes, the Tax office does issue official reports, and those are what the media should rely upon. We are finishing up our fourth quarter 2024 quarterly report, and that's distributed to the President and to Congress. That shows for the whole Republic how much was received and how much was spent. And Director Ikeda and the tax office are issuing their annual report for the tax office. And those are what we should rely on as official data from the government. I think the article that you're referencing was what the President also mentioned. There was some graphs that were put out that appeared to be government published documents, but that article was paid advertisement by someone that's not government, and it wasn't disclosed in the newspaper that this was from somebody else. So, I mean, if you want information from the government, you can rely on the official publications that we issue every year by law.
But are the figures accurate? But are the are the figures accurate with just a different analysis of? But are those the data that they're referencing?
It appears to be accurate the way it's portrayed, but when you describe it or omit a description or other information, you change what the data represents. So that's where the inaccuracy comes out. Yeah.
Director, Minister,
And they were printed in Tiabelao too afterwards. So, but then they put paid advertisement. So.
Mitutawe. Sabi wase meela in the future till 2024 while tiay the tax refund the lo southern ar balul gora mal gora issue. Sabi lo mes wase next year eng bay mo gegare legom lamus sabi ilmom dingel wase nguangara osisabele laudo. So aloke wase Maigel besel mo registered el shobara under PGST. Sabi ito wase como guk treat it el white till 2023 gora yal paarngi ay gang eng morngi sel refund ra first year a business til lendi ga habom modengel wase daitang wangara profit tir sabi ito pulway say.
Wase ako to question ka wase wage tilong wase expectation na wase sil doran mong ya ako tikada na mo dingi ngaringa record ra profit margins ra previous year mas edel baser say in fact di ngusel arang lela attacks ra last year edi by dingi na for sa kita besel quarterly payment mang domral wase because say maral mo gigre refund le kadam na mo medra tax ongir sel longirunga sa edel mulway say trigel trigel besel choice. In fact, sel mga loss, sumakamle may galos, ang wala ka previous tax liability. Makalmutar starter sa transitional rule, nga regulation. Mang sa edal kukomes ringil wasel sumukukuramal glow, ang sa edal adjust ringil ang rule. Ligdo maral sel oral mong ang kadamaral mo med, maral mo dersta nga maklorifund tilang kadana mo informe. Mga shoba expected lo mangilagay sel. Mo chloro profit so lang.
Director, kami hindi ka kasi men miska kal ko na contact person mabul silver niya ko na gagidil ko lagi mga information le ngarinya adal ko ma fax tirige na ma analysis tin men miska mam ngarinya ko sa abal mo tengwang ng adal sa amlo ko ngil kukti ko makukubis ko maimura analysis ay gel en pero ko ay sel mo to adal met fax ba information me ngarinya dia ka training ka mamra finances so we do get things wrong lang dia ka we don't know where to go ngarinya ko sel pero may
Dahil adi kampe sa messenger nga kamang di yes, then more obvious, sil mola information niya 488-2702. Yeah, or ikom email and more taxhelp@palawgov.org. Or in more Facebook ra page ra obvious gidra tax. Edi messenger sil dire.
Di sogal mulukol ase tilal mulukoring ngwak la kotok lau tutele. Ngirem el mora source. I don't think there's been any time Director Elway a stubble answer a ngidil question. Adiblal delia Director Elway amlania request ra Senator Masal Morino ase motobo da private information ilgira individual taxpayer el mer olbira galulaw. Director Elway amal timla kalotobo da yele ke magul ra la. It's illegal. But everything else, akumra lo ase Director has always been open for any talk show, any conversation. At isokal mo duli se ak mringa sulera mring lureren. Dik plol kuna se kita lang song sa rol dorun awul arada dir confused. Just to help help kami adra mira dir kan mamru laureriu. Also do some research. Mensoka a chief of staff abol iwi a letter a president Ramasau ra November ra 2020 and masaw der tiagi del tax system because so there at time kami adra media mom komo gera tori angod ra babiniel lil sira November so choka bol iwi bol clear kami mangal me mo gerim selangari media lo bangel ask him the question. Okay, so kita bay makala karo ko di mo iwi bol blakatak la ko I think if it's read people can understand.
So, tia letter dated November 11, 2020, el transmitted letter selmle Palau Goods and Services Tax, el bel submit niya then President Ramang Saul Mura Olvira Kalulaw. So the letter reads, Dear Senate President Paulus, it is my privilege to transmit for your consideration a bill to reform Palau's tax code and establish a value-added tax, which should be called the Palau Goods and Services Tax, PGST. This bill is based on Senate Bill 9-14 SD1, which was considered during the 9th OEK. Since as early as the 7th constitutional government, the VAT implementation has been on our national to-do list. The 2007 Tax Review Task Force formally recommended a transition from the gross revenue tax, GRT, for reasons that hold true today. In 2007, our policymakers were concerned about the effect of GRT on small businesses, new businesses, and international investment. They recognized that GRT favors large, established, vertically integrated businesses while disadvantaging small startups, family businesses, and boutique operations. Because the GRT is assessed at each transaction level, it penalizes businesses who work with wholesalers rather than maintaining their own supply chains. In other words, it makes it even harder for mom and pop to compete against a big business. Furthermore, the 2007 task force found that GRT discourages international investment. In their assessment, the GRT did not match well with tax systems in neighboring countries or common source countries for foreign investment in Palau. The result, in their view, was that GRT discouraged new investment in Palau. 13 years and 3 constitutional governments later, Palau is still working to encourage local startups and small businesses. Palau is still working to encourage new foreign investment, and unfortunately, Palau is also still collecting GRT. Over the years, our local officials have continued to examine tax reform alongside top international experts. That work has further strengthened their opinion that the PGST will deliver a stronger, more reliable revenue base, and that PGST is a better fit for the economy we strive to build. The COVID-19 pandemic has put us in a difficult economic situation, and the road ahead will not be easy. The pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities of our economy and revealed key areas for improvement, but we can build back better if we stay the course. This is the time to improve our business climate by establishing a corporate registry, by developing a system for international commercial arbitration, by improving the resiliency of core sectors, and by reforming our tax code. During this pandemic, we must preserve the best and improve the rest. If we do that, we can come out of this crisis stronger than ever. We have worked hard to preserve the best. Our best assets are healthy people, strong communities, and a dedicated workforce. Thanks to the efforts of our frontline workers, thanks to vigilance of our emergency response officials, and thanks to the generous and timely passage of the CROSS and U.S. CARES Acts, we have preserved those assets. With the best preserved, we can work harder to improve the rest. We can build a stronger revenue base, improve critical sectors, lay the groundwork for greater economic stability, and create an even more attractive business environment for responsible international partners. Tax reform will be a critical step in this process, and I look forward to working closely with your membership in the weeks and months to come. I am confident that we can move this process forward and hash out some key aspects of the PGST policy. And I am confident as well in the 11th constitutional government. The progress we make this year will lay the foundation for their work in 2021. Throughout this crisis, the executive and legislative branches have cooperated for the good of Palau. Moving forward, the 10th and 11th constitutional governments will do the same. Sincerely, signed the Tami Iramang Sao Jr., President of the Republic of Palau.
So the fast forward lang ang sanggiral mo blatak mo beklat alwase sayam mle direction of president mle tril to kolo sa corporate registry, arbitration, and tax reform. This otherwise was a corporate registry amna mumre kadana pasani al government, arbitration kadana pasani al government, tax reform we passed it. But we didn't pass the version of Blel submit niya President Ramosaw. A President Ramosaw mle submit a version mle sawala 15% del PGST. Gido ulumral was say that's too high. Gadinun me 10%. Limle sawala olgeder sel gia collecting adra collecting through GRT el mokmeder kasi simim sel collecting through PGST. Ongero regadul maral was say sell business profit tax el proposing a President Ramosaw 4% is not fair. Lengarama other lower and masugura a minimum wage pays 6% net income tax on his first 8,000 of income. Ya business a pera 4. That doesn't make sense. Enge asum lengalakar say before a pera 12%. So kadamle propose or say a business profit tax at a minimum should be 12%. So that's why we did two things. One, we reduced our PGST from 15 to 10%, increased our business profit tax from 4 to 12%. So, the only thing most importantly, print accurate information, research the facts. Yes, you didn't understand sa politics, but go with the facts. Sida de only thing.
The clarification. The clarification is because it's also just from the tigitan mo lokolingin basta komle tel CR 4%, komle raise ringin mo 12%.
No, business profit.
Business profit tax ang arangi replace la CRT.
No.
PGST,
So, tila
okay.
selo lisa karmiyo a President Ramosaw. Confused or other. That's why you continue to be confused.
I will clarify because you're talking about it and then you're saying GRT and BPT. So you're talking about GRT 4% and then now you're...
No. Okay. President Ramosaw, I'm propose a PGST bill. I'll address a two issue. I want a PGST, I want a business profit tax. I say, I get a proposal I say 15% a PGST, 4% a BPT. Now, ula ka mo confused, I say, BPT, kung das 4% del BPT, di wa GRT. It's not. Di, tirul fair sell rate a GRT. So, once again, I'm propose a 15% del PGST, 4% el business profit tax. Kido ulumral was say, PGST was too high. Magadinun met 10. Ulumral was say business profit tax was too low before. Magadinun met 12. And that's what we're using today. So our businesses paying more clothes business, are they paying more today than they paid yesterday? Absolutely. Misel printer was say they're paying less. It's a lie. What is it? That's the issue. So Qadi, that's what it's false, and that's why it's false. Confusion other ablun morar and deal, and everybody recognizes that this was a tough political decision. But I think at the end of the day, we all understand what I say. It was for the betterment of Ablur Belau and prepares us for the future. And now, Ablur Belam natming tayel amars and nebtokal amars system ringi, and really now has money to give back. Most importantly, el mortigel gotros peangeso. That's why we were able to reduce our tax burden, and more tegel gotter me to pay the most. The tax refund. And what else have we done? We're going to raise our salary tier. That's the overall policy. But the media, still as of Tuesday, are really confused. So that's why we want to make sure you're informed. And please, Elway is ready anytime. Go and ask as many questions. Will help Camille mo understand. So lang. Ya, awulang kamle akul gel wasang arge misraklay. Gael akot to kabla lu sell letter ablen publishing in Island Times ra 2020 makora masang was she's still confused in Merala sales. So hopefully most elmen next press conference because sell the miss press conference ng October. So they was eligara Moses el blog ukte alme. Okay, kada pura igel bebera will I say mo kada sada tax no kasi mo da sada tax di man chodum sa al.
Di way say po ungil.
On the hadik other one more thing. Kidam thing asem to misinformation. Let's stick to the facts. Let's not get personal, and let's not tom gidol. Adido sada. Let's stick to the facts. And when the facts are wrong, they have to be corrected. That's all we want seen. But that doesn't mean kasi we don't like somebody, no? Or why, like some articles are, that we would never do that. We respect democracy, we respect a freedom or other comment, but all we ask, share the facts. Sulang.
October is Breast Awareness Month. There's several activities going on, and the first thing I said, amla mesa sa clothes tora mobile mammogram. Sir al time a super center magimal. Most of us, so several all time a paragraph super center sabela ngidil adal well not ngidil at but ardil asabel mong mula screening for free it open rana it's open all the way until 5 o'clock. We have a lot of good gift, airtime, fuel voucher, water bottles, so sellable screen na adet my so that's the sort of the schedule that we have for this month. And then eguk moringa schedule in November el mora west mora WCTC direct of the self-final schedule, and there are still some logistics things that we need to confirm with WCTC. Besel top the say the schedule November hopefully by the end of the week yagiguk release ringi